Face the Kraken! What's up, Grayson Report? One of my favorite movies growing up. I know it's not really horror related, but I do love myths and legends. Uh, was Clash of the Titans, where that line is famously from. Let's dive in. I found this cool article. It is What is a Kraken? The frightening sea monster from Scandinavian lore. A squid like beast said to live in the sea between Norway and Iceland. The Kraken is one of the world's most legendary sea creatures. Scandinavian folklore tells the countless legendary creature, and one of the most famous is the Kraken. Said to be a squid like monster capable of destroying entire ships, the Kraken may seem like pure fiction today, and yet numerous sailors from centuries past claim to have encountered it. So, what is the Kraken? Is it the product of the overactive imaginations of early seafarers, or a real animal that lurks the sea? Starting in the 13th century, mariners began reporting alleged sightings of the Kraken, claiming that they saw giant tentacles in the water that were powerful enough to crush or capsize their ship. Many of these purported sightings happened in the sea between Norway and Iceland. Later on, explorers and religious figures would publish more detailed accounts of what the Kraken looked like and how it supposedly terrorized sailors. One of the earliest detailed descriptions from the 18th century Danish bishop named Erik Topiden, who described the sea monster in his book, The Natural History of Norway. Incredibly, about a century later, Herman Melville's famous novel, Moby Dick, told of a giant squid that might be the great Kraken of Bishop Pontoppidan. The Kraken would later appear in Jules Verne's novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, followed by several other books, poems, and later television shows and movies. But while the Kraken has had a long hold on pop culture, the fabled sea beast remains shrouded in mystery. Though some claim the creature is merely a legend or a very large squid or octopus that hasn't been identified yet centuries ago, others point to the long and intriguing history behind the monster and claim that the Kraken might actually be real. What is a Kraken? The origins of the myth. Though the Kraken has long been a fixture in Scandinavian lore, one of the first descriptions of the beast in writing came from Francesco Negri, an Italian priest and travel writer. Negri described the creature in a travelogue at the turn of the 18th century after a lengthy exploration of Scandinavia. In Negri's text, Viaggio Settentrionale, he claimed that the Kraken was a multi-horned fish with many arms. Negri also distinguished the creature from the sea serpent, another legendary beast said to lurk in the waters. The second notable account of the mythical creature came a few decades later from Hans Egede, a Dano-Norwegian missionary who claimed that the Kraken was similar to another legendary animal known as the Hafagufa, which some modern-day scientists believe was actually a whale. I've never heard of a Hafagufa. While these descriptions certainly painted a vivid picture of what the Kraken might look like, they paled in comparison to that of Danish bishop and historian Erik Pontoppidan. In his Natural History of Norway book, first published in 1752, he asserted that the Kraken is round, flat, and full of arms or branches. He also said it measured 1.5 miles across and that it was the largest and most surprising of all the animal creations. In addition, he cited several fishermen who unanimously affirmed, and without the least variations in their accounts, that anyone rowing into the Norwegian Sea in the summer is in mortal danger due to the Kraken. Pontoppidan added that these fishermen warned that catching a lot of fish is a bad omen, as they often surface to escape the beast. Here and there are larger risings is observed like sandbanks, on which various kinds of small fishes are seen continuously leaping about till they roll off into the water from the sides of it. At last, several bright points or horns appear, which grow thicker and thicker the higher they rise above the surface of the water. Potamidon wrote of the Kraken's terrifying appearance. Potamidon also noted that these horns can stand up as high and as large as the masts of middle sized vessels. Emerging from the depths with purportedly strong and peculiar scent, the Kraken opens his arms or horns, seizing and swallows his welcome guests, and converts them after the due time by digestion into a bait for other fish of the same kind. Why the Kraken myth is so terrifying. If these original accounts are to be believed, the Kraken uses its stench and secretions to attract fish in the sea that it can prey upon. But while it would be happy with a diet of only fish, it has the ability to target humans as well. As legends tell it, the Kraken's tentacles can easily rise above the surface of the water and latch onto a ship. If the creature so desires it, it can destroy the entire vessel, dragging the unlikely sailor abroad to their doom. Many early seafarers who claimed to have survived an encounter with the Kraken stated that the creature was capable of creating such a powerful suction vortex that any man unable to swim away from it would be sucked into the deep and drowned. These horrifying tales then spread far and wide. Even more subtly, some early descriptions allege that the Kraken could have multiple heads instead of just one, and a number of claws capable of capturing any prey the creature desires, including unfortunate seamen. Strangely enough, some fishermen claim that they mounted the beast and figured out a way to send it back into the depths of the ocean simply by pronouncing its name. However, most seafarers feared the monster and tried to avoid the areas where it had allegedly been spotted at all costs. But were sailors really afraid of the sea monster itself, or simply the possibility that a creature like that existed at all? In modern times, some experts have noted that the isolation early seafarers experienced during their voyage could lead to serious psychological effects. Thus, the Kraken might speak more of a man's fear of the unknown rather than a giant squid like creature that supposedly swam below them. And in a world before modern day science, the fear of the unknown could be particularly paralyzing to some of the early explorers of the ocean. Modern day experts weigh in on the legend. While some researchers firmly believe that the Kraken myth emerged due to early sailors' overactive imaginations during their voyages, others are confident that the cryptid was inspired by shadowy sightings of real sea creatures, namely giant squid and large octopuses. Giant squids, in particular, can reach staggering sizes, after all, and often measure dozens of feet in length. They're also rather elusive, making those encounters all the more shocking for anxious sailors of the past. For John Ablett, the senior curator of mollusca at London's Natural History Museum, the Kraken was likely a mere amalgamation of partially digested or rotten remains of giant squid and large octopuses that washed up on beaches, leading people to speculate that what these creatures might be. Squid and octopuses really are unusual animals, explained Ablett. Their body plan isn't similar to anything else that we know of in the sea. They move quickly, and the way their bodies, arms, and tentacles move seem to stimulate something in our fear of the unknown. I think the fact that they are such odd creatures, with some very large species being very rarely seen, make it very likely that they could be the starting point of the Kraken and other sea beast legends, he continued. In Norway, the Kraken myth grew, and such washed up specimens were interpreted as messages from God or the devil, sometimes called sea angels, sea devils, or sea monks. These things happened separately, and people around the world came up with similar answers and mythologies. Ablett called the phenomenon a case of convergence, evolution in myth form, as more than one nation or group of people developed this legend at the same time. Perhaps the Kraken has remained so legendary because it's been mentioned in so many modern books, movies, and television shows. For Eddie Wider, an ocean researcher who captured rare footage of a giant squid, there are nonetheless valid reasons for the myth to be so prevalent. The reason we know giant squids exist is that they happen to float when they die, Whiter said in an interview with NPR. But we really have only explored 5% of the ocean, and I think we've explored that in the wrong way. I think we scared a lot of the animals away. So, what about the stuff that doesn't float when it dies? While much of the ocean indeed remains unexplored, many modern people doubt that the Kraken ever existed, and even some who do believe in the legend thinks that the earliest accounts of it were exaggerated. However, others remain convinced that the creature lurks in the depths to this day. For Whiter, finding a giant squid in the vastness of the ocean was stunning enough, as this was an elusive creature one could actually photograph. It's just amazing to be able to have a moment like that and realize you've done something people have been trying to do for decades, Whiter told NPR. That's what got me into science in the first place, this opportunity to explore a new frontier. Only time will tell what other fascinating animals will be discovered in the depths of the ocean in the years to come. So, guys, I only know of the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. I never realized that it was an actual myth or legend. I always thought it was fairy tale, and I still think it is, because back then people were on boats for days, um, on end, and I mean, you get bored too, so imaginations start to, go wild. So I can get what that article is saying. And we do have squids and octopuses and stuff like that. So they could have mistaken a huge squid for the Kraken. So I don't think it exists. I never thought it existed. I just always thought it was this cool creature from Clash of the Titans. But guys, um do you think the Kraken existed, or do you think it's just a myth, or just something just a story for, people on the seas for many days to ward off boredom? Comment below. And as always, I go live every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking all things spooky, unexplained, the paranormal, UFOs, you name it. Be there or be squared. Stay spooky and sweet nightmares, guys. And I will see you on the next one.